Hello there folks, and welcome back to my YouTube channel, another place where I discuss, well, different topics, spirituality and introspection being the main ones, and from time to time game analysis. This video will be a more intricate one, I hope, and it's gonna be on a quite heated and controversial topic, which is basically racism. Now, can racism actually be healed? And what is basically racism? Now, the point about racism is that, as many other concepts that impose, the point of setting people aside, okay, it's easy to divide and conquer, okay. This is definitely nothing that would surprise people if racism, you know, they would realize that racism is nothing else than a tool which is used to divide people, okay, because divided we fall. The point about racism is many people mistake this concept for the aspect of race, okay, like skin color. A point of race does not imply skin color necessarily. A race simply implies that there are let's say, slightly significant changes, okay, or differences in between certain individuals. And of course, there have been some science reports, okay, most likely fabricated, that indeed there are some physiological differences in between black-skinned people and white-skinned people. And of course, they went, probably these researches went quite deep, and or I don't know if they were shallow in the end, but they also stated that there are different other things like emotional differences and certain other aspects. And of course, let's not forget in 75, I think, 1974, 1975, the Blumenbach theory that indeed there is the white race, there is the black race, and all so many things that can easily be used by some people, as further agenda to, propagate, let's say, hatred and, separation. Now, is this something actually bad or good? Well, I for one can't simply believe in something good or something bad. Something that is good usually serves you, so if you're a supporter of any of the sides of racism, okay, then, well, most likely it suits you. If you're having, I don't know, if you're gaining money, or, you're having any advantage out of this, well, most likely you will consider it positive. Other than that, well, if it hurts you emotionally, most likely you will say it's negative. But if you're like me or other people who just see the real thing as it is, and you realize that this is just another, null and void concept, well, you simply realize, well, it's not worth my time, because life is too short to be, spent on things that are simply of no use. Now, racism is nothing else than a race, okay? And I'm not referring to race as species, okay? What I'm calling racism, okay? What racism truly is, okay? Not what people believe in many situations. What racism truly is, it is an aspect of race, okay? Of racing, let's say, okay? Because race can be either a species or the aspect of competition, but I'm referring here to the point of competition, because when you say the white race, okay, this is a point of separation, because when you say you're a white supremacist, okay, you're technically a pleonastic person. Or when you say you're a black supremacist, you're already um you're already creating this, overheated sense, okay, this overheated pleonastic sense. Because the point is, when you say white or black, okay, or any other color, okay, when you support a certain side, you're already supporting separation. Because in that vibration, okay, when you can only support one single side, okay, you're already identified with that side. And when you are identified with something, your intellect will constantly fight to support that point. So the aspect is, when you say white already, you're already a little supremacist, okay? Because if you weren't a supremacist, you would say people, okay? Or humans, because we are all humans, we are all people, it doesn't matter. Skin color doesn't matter, it's just a natural adaptation. It's just a natural adaptation. In the equatorial areas, okay, the heat is much stronger and there is a difference in the strength of the sun rays. So therefore the body had to adapt. Okay, that is why in the northern parts, okay, as you move away from the equatorial areas, okay, upwards and downwards, let's say on the map of the planet, you will see that usually skin starts to, become more and more pale. Okay, and of course, skin is nothing else than an evolutionary aspect. Okay, it doesn't matter who, which of the human skin colors appeared first and as such. Now, is racism actually something? Well, racism is nothing else than a silly competition, okay? Because you're basically racing against the other part or the other parts, okay? Because when you say white supremacy, okay, you're kind of competing against the black people, but the competition is mainly, and funnily speaking, it's kind of only in your head. Okay, same when you're saying, I don't know, death to white people or Black Lives Matter, okay? Probably many people wouldn't realize that Black Lives Matter is just another hoax. Now, I'm not saying this because I'm white-skinned or something like that. I'm just saying this because there is so much money, billions of dollars that are being pulled out of theoretically supporting black people. There were actually black people who came out and said, on different internet sites and the such, and said, hey, you know what, actually this kind of sucks because, kind of society hasn't done it much, towards us. And now they're starting with this. And it's kind of awkward, right? Like, up till now, society hasn't done anything for its citizens. There have been many diseases, and barely has it been anything that's been done by society specifically. There have been certain people that did, okay, that created the coalition, okay, of hospitals and the such that did, okay, so some efforts, okay, and some people who, brought support, supplies and the such, okay, in the case of a disease or a famine in a certain place of the world. But society and politicians kind of haven't done anything. And now there's this cunt virus, infestation, and suddenly everyone, in society is so deeply interested in your freedom and security, and they're so interested in your security and your freedom that basically they're taking your freedoms. Technically, they're proving that you never had a freedom in the first place, okay? Everything was allowed because, well, in order for people to become complacent, you have to acclimatize them to a certain specific. So, first of all, there were literally no security cameras. Then some events were orchestrated, and well, the population was fed with, you know, Big Brother, and people were accustomed to the idea that security cameras are actually good, they don't hurt you a bit. And guess what, now there are everywhere security cameras. Funnily speaking, in many countries of the world, security camera footage cannot be used in a certain trial. Okay, but if a policeman stops you and say, hey, you've been recorded that your speed was beyond the limit, it's kind of funny because, well, that is used against you. But in a trial, and according to certain countries rules, okay, you can basically deny that. Okay, it's like, but you can't use that footage. Okay, so you see, it's always these things. Okay, when you want to come up with something, it's not good, but society can easily and freely use it against you. Okay, this is basically society racing against you. Okay, because society is racist. Okay, there are these people, okay, these secret societies, okay, some of them support humanity, some of them are neutral, some of them may be against humanity. And the ones who usually are against something, they will always be racist, okay, because it's not that they hate a certain race, because there is no such thing as human races, okay, it's just a point that, okay, they are racist because they are racing against population. Okay, they are just interested in, fighting against the population and, stripping population of all the freedoms and the such, which first and foremost there never existed. Okay, there wasn't ever a freedom of speech and such because, well, you couldn't speak anything in the first place. Some of the things, yes, they were allowed, but nowadays you'll see more and more censorship, right? Like even YouTube and such. They always say community guidelines, but what are those community guidelines? Those are just their community guidelines, because if you say community, then you refer to the people, but unfortunately the people are simply ignored and, most likely shadow banned and such. So racism is a point of, well, discrimination, and it's technically a way of self-empowerment, okay? Because when you become a racer, okay, when you start becoming racist, okay, well, first and foremost, you are doing nothing else than, in a way, trying to empower yourself through literally anything that you don't like about others, okay, and you would like to reinforce that point, okay, so you have more followers, and then when you gain a majority, you will want to use those things, okay, against others, and being and thinking in the same way, okay, everything else and everyone else that thinks differently is automatically part of the race, okay? There is no real life race, okay, but it's all what is in the human mind, okay, because people with untrained minds will always fall in these pitfalls, okay, in these pits of, consciousness, okay, like racism and the such, right? And so the point about racism, is it something good? Is it something bad? Okay, now I again, as I've been saying in previous videos as well, I cannot accept the point of good or bad, okay? Racism can be good, racism can be bad, okay? And I'm not talking about racism, as of color, okay? I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, being in this race. Okay, now when you are in a racer mentality, okay, or let's call it racist mentality, there is nothing else than survival, okay, because there is this fear that the other ones are better, and you don't want them to be better. Racism is even in the family, because many parents, especially the ones who have lower awareness, okay, they haven't achieved anything in their lives, and honestly they wouldn't want their children to do so, because they want everyone else to be as at least as dumb so that they can control them. So that is why children usually will get their imagination reduced, they will get punished, they will get all sorts of treatments, okay, that will pull them down, okay, because these in turn have happened to the parents, and they will propagate them, because, well, if people are unconscious, they will only act based on the things that they have accumulated, right? So the point about racism is that it is everywhere, and it is just a point of survival, okay? You're doing nothing else than a silly comparison. Everything is in your head. You believe that others can be or are already good or better than you, and you don't want that to happen, okay? It kind of hurts you. But why would it hurt you? Because when you are the best in a certain field, there's kind of barely any more development, okay? When you are the worst, that's the best thing, because when you are the worst, there is so much to learn, right? So can racism be actually good or bad? Well, depending on how you use it, it's nothing else than a concept, okay? And a concept is nothing else than a tool, okay? You can use it psychologically, as usual. Almost everything is used psychologically. You can use it as a, tool to improve yourself, okay? You want to become better, so you might join this game of competition and such, but again, you're not interested in, falling for it, okay? You're just interested in doing certain things and, well, improving yourself, okay? You can use, racism, you can be a racist in a way, but when you are a racist, you also include hatred, okay? That's why racism usually tends to be lower vibrational, okay? Because point is very simple, okay? You want to be better just than who you were the previous day, okay? Because that's the only, let's say, racism you could actually come up with. But again, don't use it as racism, because racism implies a hatred and a repulsion, okay? And you don't want to repulse yourself, because if you repulse yourself, you'll also repulse others, okay? And I don't think I need to explain why racism can be bad. Okay, like I'm guessing people are already knowledgeable of that part. Okay, now what is also racism? Okay, now racism is nothing else than a continuation. Okay, and this is nothing else than something that's been experienced by, I don't know, thousands of generations, and it is still now. Okay, and it's not just that, white people have done, hideous things to black people. Okay, black people have also done hideous things in between themselves. Okay, because there in Africa they also lived in tribes. Okay, and probably, let's say, nations. Okay, they also had nations, and of course they fought one another because, competition, scarcity of resources, and all other things. Okay, so they've also done all sorts of possible things. Now, of course, white people did a lot of things in between them. Okay, yellow-skinned people, or, Eastern Asians, also did certain things in between themselves, right? And, well, again, that is racism. Okay, because when someone starts competing against others, okay, competition is highly impulsive, and when you work on impulse, okay, it's nothing else than an accumulating flow. Okay, so more and more hatred and separation that you gain, the more and more you hate the other parts. Okay, so the more and more you are inclined to do literally anything towards those. Okay, and the more you become entrenched in a certain idea, you become more and more capable of dying for that idea. But if you're capable of dying for something, this is perfectly synonymous to being willing to even kill for that. Okay, because to die for something also means to kill for something. Okay, because you will not accept dying outside of, let's say, war. Okay, with your teeth in the enemy's throat, right? So the point about racism and the such is, this is nothing else than a continuation. Okay, how this thing can be healed? Okay, now how to heal racism is actually very simple. You have to realize that competition is kind of silly, because especially nowadays there are enough resources, okay, for everyone. The reason why things on the planet are the way they are is because we are technically bombarding the planet with so much emotional and psychological trauma, which we are causing ourselves. Why? Because we haven't been training our young people, okay, the youngsters, okay, how to simply, take care of themselves, and how to nurture their imagination, because through their imagination the world can be thoroughly changed. Okay, but what we are doing is we are schooling them, so we are technically wiping their imagination and limiting it entirely. Did you ever know that homework also means child abuse? Okay, did you ever know that governmental work actually means governmental work? So technically the government is just controlling your mind, right? And there are so many other such concepts that no one is teaching others, okay? And of course, school is just meant to be, um, uh, having people become more and more ignorant, because out of ignorance, okay, stem all the evils in the world, okay? Because if a person is ignorant, you cannot call that person evil, okay? Because if a person is, uh, you know, let's say unconscious, okay? If a person is unconscious, okay, well, the point is, you cannot call them evil. If a person is ignorant, in a way you can call them evil, because ignorance means unconsciousness, but at the same time it means consciousness. You are conscious and aware of certain things, but you choose to ignore those, okay? Because ignorance is only conscious, okay? You cannot be an unconscious ignorant, okay? When you are unconscious, you are technically again an ignorant, because when you are unconscious, you don't know certain things, right? Think about animals, okay? We as humans are the only species, okay, on this planet that can live on a conscious basis, okay? Animals and all other beings on this planet, okay, they only live unconsciously because they live only based on their own instincts, okay? That is why their senses and their survival are so magnificent, okay? That's why their skill at survival is so good, okay? Because they only think of their survival. That is why humans in time learned how to tame animals, okay? Because you needed a dog to hunt, and you also needed a dog to survive, because the dog's senses are so much more acute. When you sleep, you'll most likely not feel any predators, but a dog can smell them. Even if the dog doesn't see well, the dog can smell them. Also, dogs have a sense of loyalty, so they will start barking, okay? Because a hare, okay, a rabbit, can also feel some sort of danger, okay? but the rabbit simply runs away. It won't warn you, right? So there are many aspects to this, okay? Like think about humans, okay? Take any one human and send them into the jungle for one single day, okay? I bet many of them won't even survive because our senses suck, okay? One on one compared to other animals, our senses suck, okay? We're not good at stealthing ourselves. We're not good at, we don't know the game of jungle, okay? How to use certain substances to conceal ourselves, how to, judge based on the wind, because if the wind is blowing in a certain direction, you always go against the wind, because when the wind blows a certain direction, your smell will be propagated to that direction, so most likely that direction will be where some predators will most likely come. Again, there are many variables. You can meet predators almost any direction, and especially at night, which will be the most dangerous part. And many people might actually die because of, uh, poisoning themselves with, plants that shouldn't be eaten, or insect bites, snake bites, whatever other critters, smaller than the typical big, predators. So the point about this is we are competing against simply nothing, okay? We are competing against nature, theoretically, but that is a war we will never ever win, okay? We are competing against animals that have literally no chance against us because they're only interested in their survival and they're experiencing the things that they are experiencing, okay? But problem is we humans choose to be unconscious, okay, to remain unconscious, because there are some people, yes, who they are naturally unconscious, okay, they don't know much about the world, they don't know literally anything, and they don't know much, okay, they simply don't know much because that's how they function, okay, they don't know more than, the probably the few streets they are seeing or the hometown they live in, okay, and probably a few things if they ever got to know about certain other countries and such. But those are nothing else than stories. If you haven't experienced something, well, definitely it's just a story for you. So the point is, some people, yes, they are unconscious, but that person, okay, you cannot call them evil, okay, because they may be doing good things even to their own detriment. They may be doing bad things, okay, they are unconscious, okay, just like animals, they are acting fully on impulses, okay. You can't call a tiger or any other predator evil just because if they see a human, you know they might actually take a snack on them, right? Because they are just unconscious, they are just following their instincts and fully their instincts, okay, nothing more, nothing less. But if a person is conscious and they are doing certain things, okay, to the detriment of others, that's what you can call evil. And well, when someone is conscious and aware of certain things and they choose to be ignorant to others and also through that do things to their detriment specifically, well, that's the embodiment of evil, okay? And kind of, in a nutshell, more or less society as it is, okay? Because society is a race, okay? Everyone is, taught to live in this aspect of race because society hates you. I was very young when I thought about this, and I would view society as a group of people or entities that would simply want to, rule us. And well, it goes very deep, so I'm not interested in providing too many details yet. But the point is, I was very young when I had certain ideas like this. I don't know where they popped up, but I think I kind of had them in myself. And of course, they just activated at the right time. So society is a race. If you don't believe it, well, look at it just from the youth, okay? Children, even at school, at the earliest age, they are taught to compete one against the other, okay, for marks and for the approval of a teacher. But a teacher can be, and usually in many situations they might actually be dumber than the children because adults have a bad sense of, shutting themselves down completely. So basically, they just give themselves to ignorance more and more, which kind of presents them as dead because, well, ignoring your emotions and running away from them renders you as dead because, well, there's basically nothing left of you if you're running away from your emotions and your psychological aspects, okay? If you're ignoring those things, you're technically killing yourself slowly and surely. So the point about racism is, we are taught to live, okay, life as if it is a race, okay? And when you live life as a race, you will basically hate everyone else because someone has a better car, someone has a better bike, someone has a more expensive phone, but you only see just a surface aspect. You don't know if that better car is necessarily better than yours, okay? Having a super expensive car in a city may not be the best thing because usually they have a powerful engine, let's say, and of course they consume a lot of fuel. So it's not necessarily good to have an expensive car and use it, like strictly in the city, okay? Because you have a lot of traffic lights, traffic jams, and all sorts of things that kind of make, driving a Ferrari as very bad, okay? And you wouldn't want to drive a Ferrari in a city because you wouldn't want to hit a pothole with that. And, if someone has a better bike, well, why would it matter? It's still two wheels and a chain and, a propelled vehicle, okay? And I don't know, if someone has a more modern mobile phone, why would you worry? Are they using that mobile phone at its entire capacity, or are they just using it unconsciously just to watch some videos on YouTube or I don't know, any other platform? Why? Because why does it matter if it is the last, the most advanced mobile phone? If they're only used for video games, well, they're probably gonna break that phone, sooner than you're gonna break yours, because I've always had phones that, lasted a lot because I don't spend too much time playing on them. And, I only use them in case I need, just to, look on the internet, you know, see one or two posts if I ever need to, in the digital arts group that I'm on in Facebook, or I don't know, see on Facebook what other notifications I have of videos from several people that I follow, and well, that's kind of it. Okay, if I want to watch something quickly on the internet, right, and I don't have my computer around, and only several things like this. Okay, I'm not interested in spending too much time on the phone. So the point is, when you are living in this racism, you have to understand that all this stems from thousands of generations before you. Okay, that is why the impulse of racism is so powerful, because every human in this world that promotes anything, okay, will make it even stronger for the incoming generations. Okay, and that is why these are more and more prevalent nowadays, because nowadays people are more and more waking up. Okay, they're no longer acting based on instincts. Okay, and well, becoming more and more aware of certain things, these things surface up because all the unconscious things want to become pure again. They want to become one with creation. So as to become one with creation, they have to escape the grasp of your own mind. You have to give up thinking on them, and that is how you heal them. Okay, how you heal something is realizing the fact that, well, it's technically useless. Okay, now many people still argue that, hey, white people have done a lot of things, to black people in the older times, but as I've said before, okay, there is a point. Okay, that was the awareness those people had. So in a certain way, that was kind of the best they could do in those specific situations. Okay, and yes, there always have been conquests. Okay, white conquered other whites. Okay, black conquered other blacks. Okay, and there's always been these warfares. Okay, these wars thousands of years before this ancient, the medieval times, and let's say in antiquity. Okay, how many wars have there been in antiquity? Okay, and only now people focus so much on racism because it simply hypes people, and people are more and more into this, what I call the emotional racism. Okay, or the drama racism. Okay, because so many people are choosing drama. Okay, they are just embracing it as if it's the only thing in the world, it's the only good thing to do in the world. And they are also somewhat racist because they want more and more drama. Okay, they're only just drama queens. Okay, they just dramatize everything, and they want to feed off of other people's emotions. Okay, an aspect of vampirism which has been again around the world, I think, almost as long as we have been as a race, and things like this also happen in the realms of the animals, I'm also sure. Probably to a lower extent, but okay, why not? Okay, primates are also capable of emotions, and I'm guessing to a certain extent, reptiles and the such. So, the point about racism, okay, uh, how you heal it is think about this, okay? Put yourself in the shoes of the white people, okay? Because racism, when you think about racism, everyone points to the past where, black slavery, okay? When black slavery was in bloom, and white people would often come to Africa, and take prisoners, black people prisoners, and bring them to Europe and or America, okay? And many people think about this as being evil, but don't judge things in the past, because back in those times, technically, that was kind of the only thing certain people could do. Okay, and that was also their awareness. Don't forget that back in those times, when you were born, traveling even 100 or 200 kilometers was already a huge feat, because the only thing that you had was your feet and or a horse. Okay, those were the only ways of travel. There were bandits, there were wild animals everywhere, and the closest town was probably 2 or 3 days further away. Okay, and imagine surviving all by yourself, okay, for 3 days, right? That wasn't good. So people would definitely stay in their own cities and towns and villages and such, right? And when you were born in such a village in the older times, imagine that there were technically two situations that you could have. You were either a commoner, or you were, of a more noble approach, right? And if you were a commoner, you could either be a peasant, or you could be, more of a inner city, let's say, citizen. Okay, and again, you could be either a crafter or you could be a soldier. Okay, and a crafter, a peasant, and nobles, okay, they wouldn't usually leave their own towns, okay, their own cities, the capitals, or wherever they would sit, okay, wherever they would be. That was their comfort zone, and that was their place, okay. You couldn't live there, because if you left there, you had no home in any other place. So you had to start from scratch. So it was a daunting task for anyone to simply even think about that, right? So moving further, this was, a big challenge. When you were a soldier, you would kind of, that would be the only way you would actually move outside, okay, of your borders or of your city, of your town, because you would just do the bidding of your superiors. And let's say there was no other choice at the same time, okay, so you are this white soldier that suddenly you were, on a barge, on a ship, and, well, you are on course to Africa. Being the first time, most likely you don't even know what your mission is. You just know that you have to be there, and your superiors tell you. Okay, so don't forget that people in those times only knew two things. Okay, you had to abide to the gods that you served, and also to the king or the queen, but usually it was a king because patriarchy. And, well, you had to also abide to your superiors, okay, because they were representatives of the king and also representatives of God indirectly, because the king is usually seen as a representative of God, okay, on this planet. So the point is, okay, since you are born and programmed to believe that, well, that's your awareness, that's the only thing you can accept, right? It's the same for black people, for white people, and any other type, okay, any other tribe, okay? You have certain gods, or, pantheon, okay, that you believe in. You have your ruler and your superiors, right? That's any structure, any societal structure in any part of the world. So you're finally in Africa, and you have to, hunt black people. For the first time you see, people that have a completely different color, so most likely you'll be surprised. Any other people who hasn't had contact with the such will also be surprised, okay? Even black people will be surprised to see people who, are of a different skin color, right? Because everything that is different than you are will always draw, a childish curiosity. But again, your superiors tell you that, well, they are the enemy. And being highly programmed by the fact that, okay, the enemy you must kill, okay, or you must act, okay, if your superior says kill them all, you will actually do that. Okay, now when you are in your shoes, okay, sitting in the comfort of your own house, you would say that that is a hideous thing. Of course, it's easy to judge because you are there in the comfort of your house, and there literally is nothing against you, nothing bad will happen to you if you misjudge, right? The same thing in society when the judge gives an unfair you know response at a trial. Okay, there are very few situations in which there are repercussions against that, so this again promotes ignorance. Okay, and well, if you have ignorant judges, they won't simply well, not all of them, but some might not even care what their point is. Okay, they just might enjoy the aspect of power and even abuse it, because if you're ruining other people's day, you will feel better because other people have ruined your own day. Okay, so again, this is another example of racism. Okay, people have hurt you in the past, so it is up to you to make them hurt even more. Okay, to feel hurt even more. Okay, so this is another aspect, an example of racism. Okay, narcissistic people, they are racist by default because they are supporting their own fake personalities, and they believe, again, it's nothing else but stuff in their head, but they believe that they have to keep up the competition because those lies and things about their own personas have to be promoted, and at the same time they are aware of the fact that uh, you know um, uh, wait, yes, they are aware of the fact that others may be better than them, because narcissists know that there's nothing special about them. They have a certain level of awareness inside of them, but again, they have that consciousness within them, but they choose to be ignorant. Okay, because as I've been saying, ignorance can be natural, okay, which is unconscious, but well, when it is unconscious, again, you cannot call it evil, but when it is consciously done, that is evil. Okay, because it's always going to be to the detriment of others. Okay, and of course, any sort of trauma usually induces a sense of racism, because when you have been raped, let's say as a child, you will react to that and it will constantly keep affecting you. And every time you react to it, you're making it stronger and stronger. So most likely you'll feel like everyone else must be raped or everyone else might suffer. And um, this suffering can be done by either raping them or by overprotectiveness and control. Okay, because at the same time you're still a racist. Okay, you're still racing with the principle that you've been put to suffering and everyone else must also suffer at least as much as you. Okay, and well, that's how it goes. Okay, don't judge people and the actions they've done in the past because they have lived their lives. If you judge them and you focus on them, it's like you're focusing on their lives. It's like you're having them experience their life and live their life again through you. Okay, you have your own life. You can be free from such things. Okay, because people just have to understand the futility and uselessness of such concepts. It doesn't serve you anything. Okay, guess what? You're a black person or you're a white person, okay, and you kill your neighbor, which is another color than you, and well, what's it gonna do to you? You're probably gonna feel a bit good for a short time, but well, you're gonna end up in jail anyways, and you're gonna hate even more, and you're gonna just ruin your life. Okay, that is the simple point. Why hate people in the present, okay, for what their ancestors have done? Their ancestors have done certain things, okay, but you have to understand that nowadays society is nothing else than a ticking, socially ticking time bomb. Okay, and the way I see it, it's kind of the most prevalent in America. Okay, because there aren't too many black people in Europe, and in my case, I think the first black person I saw like with my eyes, not in pictures, okay, like in real life, I think I was 20 years of age or 21, something like that. Okay, so you have to understand that some people may not necessarily know about your skin color, okay, because well, I being from Romania, there aren't too many black people, and especially in my hometown, there aren't too many black people. So moving further, okay, you can simply observe one little thing. Okay, you can observe that, um, for example, in America, there is so much, chaos. Okay, white people hate white, black people hate black. Okay, heteros hate homos. Okay, and the such, and there is so much hatred in this. Okay, and men hate women, women hate women, women hate men, men hate men, and the such, and it's so much hatred and hatred. Okay, this is again racism. Okay, When you're a woman and you hate men, that's racism, okay? It's not because you hate the race of men, okay? Because there is no such thing as the man race and the woman race, okay? It's just a human race. And you're just competing, you're going on a silly competition, okay? Pitting yourself against others whom you believe to be in a certain way. But again, belief is nothing else than accepting something without a necessity for proof, right? And I can go on and on with this, but the point is, you just have to realize the futility of the thing, okay? People that have done things in the past, okay? They have done things in the past. If you keep up with those things, you're just gonna improve that, okay? You're gonna make it worse for the next generations. It's the same thing with sexuality, okay? So much repercussions, so much, disallowance, okay, with religion and especially Christianity that said sex is, a sin, but, guess who are the most sinful? Usually the priests, and so much child abuse, and child raping and the such. They were kind of the main culprits who are also telling you to, hey, it's bad to think about sex, it's bad to, do something like this. It's also shameful because shame is also a weapon that racists use, okay? And again, this is most prevalent in families, okay? What do parents do when they don't like the actions of their children? They shame them, right? They use shame, guilt, and all these, even gaslighting, all these narcissistic approaches, okay? Because you don't have to be a fully fledged narcissist. You can have a bit of, a bit of it, and we kind of all have a bit of it, okay? Emotionally speaking, spiritually speaking, or something like that, I don't know, okay? There's karma from our ancestors, okay? So realizing that this is just nothing else than futility, well, that is what will propagate you further, okay? Because it will propagate you further, okay? It will make things better or worse. How you choose to use certain concepts is, well, how your life will be, right? The more you accept ignorance, the more pain you will inflict to yourself, because there will always be a pain to bring you back to real life, okay? To the realization that you're not doing the right thing, because pain will always exist when you stray away from yourself. That should be your guidance, okay? Because why is it, and when you're doing the things that you like, okay, that you naturally like, you're feeling good, right? At the same time, a person who is naturally born to kill, okay, because they have a very potent gene in their DNA, they will always feel good when they kill, right? Because when you do the things that you were kind of genetically made for, okay, that is when you feel good. That is when you know that you're doing what so many people kind of foolishly call their life purpose, okay? It's technically what you're best at, okay? What you're, you know, yes, what you're the best at, okay? What you're good at, okay? And what you find the easiest to learn and practice. So this is basically a way to guide yourself, okay? It's a good way to guide yourself, because when you're doing the things you like, okay, and you're consciously doing them, not as an impulse, okay, these pains and the such are simply gonna vanish, okay? So I think I've spoken enough about this video. Hopefully you like this type of content that I'm creating. Feel free to like and subscribe. Feel free to, come up with your own opinions. Feel free to present constructive feedback. If you're a designer, developer working towards a video game, a project, and you want someone to break it down to the minutest of details, feel free to send me a link. All this being said, you are loved and appreciated. Take care. Ferenc on board, signing out.